Welcome to the Haunted Chapel. It's like church, but for metal. Here are your hosts, John Araya and Brittany Elliott.
Welcome back to the Haunted Chapel. I'm John.
And I'm Beezy.
Welcome back to another episode. We have our special episode with Dan Lorenzo from Patriarchs In Black, also from Hades. That's
from
right.
The 80s.
Dan Lorenzo from Hades from the 80s.
Hades in the 80s.
We had a good conversation with Dan. He's a great guy. He's been around the music scene for a long time, and he is one of the OGs. He's a riff master. He sweats riffs. He eats, breathes music. This guy is all about the music. I had the pleasure of playing on the second Patriarchs album, which was called My Veneration. And I also got to play on the new upcoming album, the third record by Patriarchs, featuring Johnny Kelly and a host of other singers and bass players. It's like an ensemble cast of musicians, and it's awesome. It's amazing. The song I got to play on, well, actually, from our previous episode we did with Kyle Thomas, I got to do a track called Empty Cup featuring Kyle. And it's, if you like slow, grungy, doomy songs, it's perfect for you. What'd you think of it, Faye?
I love it. It's awesome. It's not out yet, so you will have to stay tuned this summer when the third album comes out. But I love Patriarchs because it's like every song is slightly different, but you've got your foundation of Dan and Johnny Kelly, which so it all has the same heaviness, but you've got the different singers. It kind of reminds me of when the Probot record first came out, and it was like, holy shit, this song's got Kronos on it, this song's got Wino on it, this song's got Lemmy, and it's like such an all-star cast of musicians. That's right. And you're cool. One of those musicians.
That's right.
And that's so cool.
It's cool. It's an honor, and I'm stoked to be on this record. So here we go with Mr. Dan Lorenzo. Hey, Dan, what's up?
It's Dan.
You guys are recording this? Oh, look at Brittany's shirt. How nice.
That's right. We're recording
Greatest
this.
shirt ever.
Thank you.
Repping New Jersey.
That's right.
All right. You know, I've never been there. I know Steve loves it, but I've been to. I got to try it. And
Dude,
it's not that. That's 20 minutes from my house, maybe.
Really? Oh man, yeah. I'd be there every day if I were you. It's the best.
We need to teleport to Dan's house, apparently.
Yeah. There's a place in New York City I love, and there's a couple places in Jersey I love. And the place in the city is like authentic. Like my wife and I, we got married in Rome. Right. And it's like Italian pizza, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, Rome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, what year did you guys get married in Rome? That's awesome to go all the way to Rome and get married and meet the Pope and all that. That's amazing.
But I was going to tell you, so my favorite pizza place is called Numero 28 in America. It's in New York City off of Bleecker. But there's also one in Austin that I went to, a Numero 28, and it was pretty much just as good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Numero 28. That's my spot.
Awesome. Okay, I will remember that. I lived in Austin for years, and
I figured you guys are familiar with the area, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard of it, so we're taking a road trip tomorrow.
Yes,
you guys take a lot of road trips.
Hell yeah.
Numero 28. I love pizza. But,
so what's up, Dan?
Yeah, how you doing? What's going on?
Well, everything is good except for. Real quickly, I got some bad news today. I need foot surgery again. I got a bone spur, and I like to play basketball when it gets warm out. It's getting warm out here in Jersey. Right. And now I just found out today I probably can't play until August because I need another operation. But I'm trying to put it behind me, as my wife says, and just think about all the good things in life, you know, like finally talking to you guys.
Yes. We've been trying to set this up for a while, but we've had lots of experiences.
Just different. Yeah, we were going to move a couple times and neither worked out, but probably for the best. So we packed up our house and then had to unpack our house, and it's been a little crazy, but the universe is just trying to tell us, no, that wasn't the right situation.
Yeah. You always end up in the right place, usually, you know?
Yeah. What happens, you know, I think this is a perfect time because I know you've been writing new songs for the next Patriarchs, and I just want to know, like, how's that going? I know you got, like, I've heard a couple of tracks and they're fucking awesome, dude. And
how did you hear a couple tracks? Now, why would you have heard a couple of tracks?
Because
you're in trouble.
I went on YouTube and I researched. I did Patriarchs In Black. It's like upcoming records. Someone's like sneaked a couple of tracks. I'm like, man, these are great. No, yeah, the songs that you asked me to play on, which I'm honored to, because so incredible. The musicians to play along with, than the vocalists. They're heavy. I mean, Britt can testify. She's like, "Oh my God, that sounds like Alice in Chains. Oh my God, that's so heavy. I love it."
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it's riff master, man. I wonder, like, you just
he's full of riffs.
He's just
the
pour
riff
out.
master.
It's like you sweat riffs.
So yesterday I had delivered a Gibson stool. I had one of them delivered to my house, but it said some assembly required, very easy. It wasn't easy. I can't do anything. Like I can do just about nothing except for write riffs. That's like one of the few things in life I'm good at. And if I go upstairs after this, I'll just write a riff if I pick up a guitar. Like the older I get, I think it's because I'm getting so excited. And like Patriarchs in Black, it's so exciting playing with different singers on, we have 7 different singers on each
album. But we've got the master.
Wow, that's a nice plug. So I think I'm so inspired. I wrote 4 albums in 3 years after I met a guy named Nathan Opposition, who was in a band called Ancient Wisdom. He was living in Cleveland. What's that?
I know that band. I used to see them when it was like a kind of acoustic, kind of goth, kind of they
had a song called The Opposition that was kind of a underground hit. Mm-hmm. And they toured with as the openers for Ghost and Ghost's first tour of America.
Yep.
So Nathan and I met by I was a fanboy for the band, and in 2000, I think it was 2017, I drove out to Cleveland a couple times, which is where he was living, and now he's back with you guys. He's in Austin. He's back in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did 4 albums in 3 years with him, and then I did 2 albums in 1 year with another guy from Austin, Jason McMaster from
Igniter.
Yeah, exactly. Igniter. Yeah. Jason actually just squeaked in. He sang a song for the 3rd Patriarchs in Black album just yesterday. He sang
awesome. Quick story about McMaster.
Sure.
Johnny was on tour, and I went to go see Armored Saint and Wasp by myself. I'm a huge fan of both bands, especially Armored Saint. And I was sitting next to this guy, and he had like big, kind of like Jeffrey Dahmer glasses on, and was like real unassuming. I looked over, I was like, "Jason?" And he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Oh my God, what the fuck is up, Jason?" And I had never met him up until that point, but we have a lot of mutual friends, and we just happened to be sitting next to each other, and we're both solo. So I was like, "Oh my God, that's awesome. I'm sitting next to Jason McMaster watching Armored Saint and Wasp. This is great."
He wasn't singing for Armored Saint that night.
No. He was just in the crowd, but a good friend of mine, Robert, plays guitar for Igniter. So I've seen him play a bunch of times with them. So very cool.
Yeah, so I saw Jason twice, I think, last year, singing once with Accept and once with Armored Saint. He filled in for a couple dates for each. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it was really weird. Wrote a couple of records with the guy, and I'd only met him once in Austin in like the 90s, I think. And then I met him a couple times here in Jersey because he happened to be filling in for, I was going to say Udo Dirkschneider, Mark Tanillo from Accept, and then John Bush from Armored Saint. So he filled in for just a couple dates for each, but they both happened to be in Jersey. So it was funny timing. I saw him twice in like 3 months, I think.
That's so cool because I didn't even know that he had filled in for John Bush. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I heard that Jason's little thing with Accept was phenomenal. Like everyone said, "Oh man, he was awesome."
Yeah, he's great.
I didn't.
I don't listen to a lot of Accept. Yeah. He did London Leather Boys, and it was. I've been listening to that song multiple times since I saw him do it with Accept. Like he crushed it, man. It was really, really awesome.
Wow, Jason McMaster, man, that's just like a last minute addition to the album. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I kind of didn't want to mess around with like having any singers that I worked with previously, like Cassius King or Vessel of Light.
Right.
But I wrote this song and it was called Jason. It sounds kind of like AC/DC meets Kiss, and I'm like, this has got to be for Jason, So.
His favorite and my favorite.
Your Kiss is your absolute favorite?
Well, I wouldn't say absolute. I would say Skynyrd and Alice in Chains are probably like my number one of all. My dad raised me on Skynyrd, and I really love the messages of those songs, especially the really deep cuts. It's just such good songwriting. I love Skynyrd so much. It's one of my favorite bands. I just love that bluesy old rock and roll. But Alice in Chains, grunge, and I'm a huge fan of Patriarchs. Despite Johnny being in the band, I would have been a huge fan because you've got that. It takes me back to that time of growing up. I was born in '87, so I grew up in the '90s of just listening to music on the radio and just obsessing over music. And all I had was my CD booklets and listening to my CDs. We didn't have social media. We didn't care about that shit. And we didn't have it, but it was just a certain time period, and Patriarchs takes me back to that time period.
Oh, thanks.
Back in that decade.
So I saw Kiss play at Madison Square Garden way before you were born in 1978.
But yes, Kiss is like, top 5.
The old Kisses. That's for me. But my favorite album of all time is actually Highway to Hell, and I do love Alice in Chains' Dirt. That's one of my favorites in my top 20. I'm sure you know.
Okay, so we were doing a little sleuthing and watching some old interviews and I was like, I saw the interview where you listed or you named your top 5, and I was like, let me challenge myself and see if I have all of those records.
Okay.
And I have them all, but I couldn't find my Aerosmith Rocks, right? And so I challenged that to Get Your Wings, because I love Lord of the Thighs, one of my favorite.
That's my song. Yeah, that's my song.
That is like the okay. You might have to cover that one, Dan. If you
I know. I've always wanted to sing that one. Believe me.
Yes, and then of course you said "Rock and Roll Over."
Just perfect album. Perfect.
It is. Do you have a favorite song on the album?
I sang "Calling Dr. Love," but I mean, I don't even know where to pick. Like "Love Him and Leave Him," "I Want You." I would say "Baby Driver" and "Hard Luck Woman" are 9 and 10. Maybe "See You in Your Dreams" is number 8, and the other 7 songs are just like I wouldn't even know where to start.
Just masterpiece. That's what people don't understand about Kiss, and like I get a lot of hate for my love for Kiss, and it's from people that are really into metal, and I'm like, do you realize that there would be probably no. Doyle was heavily influenced by Paul Stanley, by Kiss. Dave Lombardo heavily influenced. So on that note, there would be no fucking Slayer probably without fucking Kiss, you know. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I was challenging myself.
I was looking at that album cover for some reason. I thought it was the first Megadeth. I don't know why, but of course I love it.
I got some glare because I got my stuff. But I was like, man, Dan is my soul brother from another mother. These are like all my favorite records too.
You said Exodus, Bonded by Blood. I was like, whoa, okay.
Freaking masterpiece from start to finish.
I watched Bonded by Blood with my buddy Rob Duke singing, and then I watched it with Paul on my new TV. My wife is like, she didn't grow up in that shit, but she loves it too. But yeah, Bonded by Blood. I don't even know what the fuck that album surpasses. I think the first Metallica album, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Dude, A Lesson in Violence? Are you kidding me? It's just like,
we were label mates with them, opening up for Slayer in February of '87. Before the first Hades album came out, we opened up for Slayer in Poughkeepsie at the Chance, and we were on the same label as Exodus. So we got to hear Paul Bailoff demoing the second album with Seeds of Hate and Brain Dead, which was just amazing with Bailoff singing.
Yeah.
Fucking sick.
Great. Yeah, the cool thing about Bonded by Blood was that album was out maybe like a year before it even was released on vinyl. It's like everyone had a copy of it in the area, all the tape trading back in the day. So we heard that like, holy smoke, man, this is like, what is this? This is something. This is like some new sound. Where is this coming from?
It's amazing. Bailoff was too rough back then, but now it's like he was just so ahead of his time. We didn't realize it at the time,
Exactly, man.
Totally, man. Bailoff is fucking badass. One of my favorites.
Yeah, we
Brittany, if you moved 1 inch to your left, it would look like the 2 horns of the guitar are actually coming out of your head.
Hey.
There you go.
That's much better. Thank you, Dave.
That's a Jeff Hanneman OG.
Wow.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm sure, am I asking Johnny? So I had the Jeff Hanneman demos for South of Heaven before there was South of Heaven. Yeah. And I remember him doing the riff from South of Heaven and just being like, wow, and him singing some punk rock stuff. I remember like, it was so cool being, around that part of that scene. And like you said, you hear albums before they come out, particularly if you had an in or the demos of the album, but Jeff Hanneman, what the fuck, man, that guy had it going.
Yeah, that guy was another riff master. He just used to write riffs. He would just write songs all the time. Like he always picked up a guitar, he just riffed. But in the later years, he kind of pulled back. But man, in the beginning, he just pumped all these riffs out. All the great tunes are like his songs are co-written by him. And you can't deny like his
major talent, though. Yeah,
exactly.
Major talent.
Yeah.
You two just spew riffs. That's what you're born to do. That's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
What you said earlier, I used to tour with St. Vitus, and Wino is a very close friend. He knew
I
my
see that,
dad
yeah.
before my dad passed, and so he's very close. He drove he drove down from New York to play my dad's memorial
very cool
for
dude.
free.
Wow.
And he was just like, he's just such an amazing person. But
Good man.
He's like, he's like, I'm not good at much, but I was born to play guitar. And he's just full of riffs, just like what you were saying. That totally reminded me of
Awesome.
what Wino was
Yeah,
talking
Scott, Wino's, Wino's rad. He's a great guy. We had him on our one episode, and man, he had so many stories. What a funny guy.
But I wanted to talk to Dan about like a little bit about Hades, because I know that
Yeah.
was like a blip in time, right? That was only like a couple of years that you guys were
Right.
together.
Yeah.
But those records are so fucking heavy.
Yeah.
I love those records, and it kind of reminds me in the same time period, I guess, of Flotsam and Jetsam a little bit.
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
Flotsam is a criminally underrated band. I love them. I that first Hades record is chef's kiss.
It's like an 80s.
I didn't even know if you guys knew that. I didn't know that. So I actually started Hades in 1978. Right when I saw Kiss play, and I was Dan from Hades.
Yes.
Dan
A
from
couple
Hades.
months before I picked up a guitar, even right.
Right.
Then I started doing Hades, and back then you could make money playing the cover scene. So we were a cover band, and then people go off to the army or college or whatever. So it was just me and the drummer, and I started like the second incarnation of Hades, and that's when we put out Resisting Success. But we were around for a long time with, at least I was,
Yeah.
and we put out 2 albums. Then we had a disastrous tour of Europe in 1989, where the band was fighting, and I almost threw away my passport, and I thought I was never be in a band again. I heard my best friend Jimmy Shulman between the walls. We weren't speaking then, and we're in Holland, and I'm in a hotel in one room, and I hear him doing an interview saying, it sucks for Dan because like we're all great musicians, but he's a songwriter, so we'll probably never hear from him again. And I'm like, he's probably right. Like I'm not a great musician. I'm a songwriter. Like
Right.
maybe this is it for me. I always wanted to be Dan from Hades, and now that's it. And I really wouldn't have been surprised in one way if that was, my last foray into music. But as soon as I got home from Europe, I started another band called Nonfiction. But going back in the Hades, we actually got back together in 1999, and we did 3 albums for Metal Blade in 3 years. So it was a blip in time, but one of them was from 78 to 89, and the other blip was from 99 to 2001.
Very cool.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that was on. You guys did something with Metal Blade.
Yeah,
No,
3
so-
albums with Metal Blade, and I was actually on Metal Massacre 6. We should have been on Metal Massacre 3 with your brother,
Yeah.
but a lawyer told us not to do it because he was trying to protect us, which was so stupid. Like Slagle's a great guy. I love him.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
And we still get royalty we still get like publishing statements for Metal Massacre 6. It's like probably the only record label I still get, statements from like 40 years ago, 35 years ago, whatever
Yep.
it is.
Brian's great, man. We're in touch
Yeah.
with him, and every time we see him, he's just the coolest guy.
Yeah,
He is-
great guy.
We like supporting him.
He's like he stayed so humble, for as much as like he contributed to metal and still continues to contribute. Brian is just like such a kind, wonderful person. I made him an
for sure.
Iron Maiden Killers table, and he was like, "Oh, this is going in my Iron Maiden cave." I was like, like what an honor, like being a little kid jamming fucking Metallica. Like I mean, that was like my first introduction really to metal, like growing up in the 90s really, and
Right.
Metallica was the fucking biggest band of all time at that point
yeah.
for Black
Sure.
Album and
Huge.
Injustice, and
Not that popular anymore, though. That's one thing. They're really falling off Metallica. I don't know if are they still
Right.
playing?
I don't know, man. I
think so.
I think they just put out a new
Yeah.
record not too long ago. I
Yeah,
think.
no, my wife and I actually went to see them in Jersey last summer, and I have a really
got
short
jokes.
attention span. What's that?
I said he's got jokes.
I stayed for 6 songs, which is long for me because we thought Pantera was playing, but I really wanted to see Overkill because I'm really friendly with Blitz, and they were on at 3 in the afternoon in the parking lot out front. So for me to be at a venue from 3 to 10, that's a little too much,
That's a
know.
long time.
But
Especially
they
in a
were
parking
awesome,
lot.
and I have so much respect for Metallica. So much respect.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Those guys are just they're innovators. They paved the way for all these other metal thrash bands that come out, and they're still doing it. And James just is an incredible
Amazing.
songwriter, guitar player. Like
They'll
just-
never stop. They'll never quit because they're Metallica.
He's like it's like Hetfield and Rudy Schenker to me are like one of the top rhythm dudes. You know, they're just like solid, just on it.
I
Like
can't say I
Scotty
stuck with the Scorpions, man. I can't say I've listened to them in a while, except for the really like the Yuli John wrote stuff. I love,
The Entrance era.
Yeah, Entrance is so good. Yeah, like, and also Scott Ian is like another rhythm player that I admire so much. He's just boom, his timing is on it. You know, we just saw him with Mr. Bungle. Man,
You did.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah?
see Bungle.
I saw him with Mr. Bungle recently. Man, I've never seen him play so fast. He was just on. He was trying to keep up with Trey. And after the show, I saw him like, man, how's your arm? He's like, oh man, I got to go ice it down. I've been icing it down after every show. I'm like, wow.
Funny.
Yeah.
Good to hear, because I have some French disease, not really disease, but it's from here to here, like just hurts so bad when I play.
I have that from tattooing. I've been tattooing only 17 to 18 years, but just gripping the machine for that long, that many hours a day, like, was starting to develop that. It's in that same place too.
But you use a coil machine, right?
Yes, for the most part. Sometimes I'll bust out a rotary for like a big mag, but that's kind of a newer thing. And
that would help, though. That would help.
For sure. And Johnny's like, man, I like the weight of this coil. I'm like, yeah, till you've been doing it for the 20 years. And your hand's like, ow.
Yeah.
On that note, if you tattoo, you need to hit up Dan for all your tattoo needs at Painful Pleasures, okay?
That's right.
Give you a
Thank you, Brittany.
That's right. Sounds like going back to Bobby Blitz and Overkill. So you've been buddies with Bobby and Overkill for years, like from the beginning, right? That's when they started.
Well, Blitz says the story gets bigger every year. That he and the first time Hades opened up for them, I was on the stage being my nervous self and saying, "Come on, let's get moving. Come on, hurry up with your sound check." And Blitz says he stood on my fingers, which I don't know if that really happened, but we did not get along at first. And then when I started the band Nonfiction, Dee Dee Verney kept hearing us on the local radio station out here, who won't play Patriarchs in Black, called WSOU. They're too cool now. But they used to play us all the time, and we were number one for months, years on end on WSOU. But so Nonfiction opened up for Overkill in America in '93. Then we went to Europe, and I shared the bus with Sabotage in Europe because I don't party. And, I wake up super early no matter how late I go to bed. And the Overkill bus was the party bus. Oof. But Blitz and I kind of bonded a little more because I would have my record label fax me back when there was a fax machine days, like the New York Knicks scores and the highlights of the playoffs. So I would share the faxes with Blitz and Dee Dee. And then Blitz was the first man to like fall in love with my solo albums in the early 2000s. So he and I did a record together in 2007 called The Cursed. Room Full of Sinners, which is an amazing album, but you can't find it anywhere. It's out of print.
Okay.
We'll have to search.
A couple songs on YouTube, but it's picture Blitz singing low. Like he told me he listened to Johnny Cash for a couple months before we did the record. It sounds like Patriarchs in Black with Blitz singing really low and bluesy, you know?
Wow. Yeah,
and actually, I'm jamming with Blitz Saturday night. This Saturday night,
nice.
There's an all-star band down the shore. Like I'm the only non-all-star. But it's
you are too.
JD from Black Label Society and Chris JD. From Trans-Siberian Orchestra, me, Blitz, and some other people just playing a couple cover songs. AC/DC awesome. And Motorhead. Blitz won't sing any damn Kiss songs, though, I don't think.
Whatever. He's one
of those. I don't know, man.
Come on.
You got to talk him into it.
What is he, anti-Kiss, or he just doesn't, he can't?
He's not one of his favorites. No, he's not a big Kiss fan.
Okay. Yeah, Bobby,
hey, either you get it or you don't. Am I right, Dan?
Yeah.
We have a full Kiss room in our house, so we get
awesome.
it.
So, Johnny, you love old Kiss too?
Well, you know what? I was introduced to Kiss by Tom, my brother. He brought home Destroyer, and I was just, like every kid, I just looked at the album like, whoa, what is this? Like the makeup was just so, and then the cover with the fire and everything, decimated. And then just on top, and then I'm like, man, who painted this? This artwork's amazing, right? But that was my first introduction to Kiss was Destroyer, and then that was it.
So what about the music, not the artwork?
Well, that's the thing. Like it was the artwork that pulled me into it. But then listening to the album, like, oh, okay, this is cool. I like the songs were catchy. They were short. They were bam in your face, and but then I never really listened to them after that. But then getting with Britt, she's like, oh my god, Kiss, and then through Brittany, I know the Kiss's discography now. So, and I'm like, thanks, Britt. I never would have listened to it on my own.
Really?
I catch him sweeping the house like like jamming out to Kiss. I'm like, I knew you loved Kiss.
You guys find when you miss out a band from 30 years ago and then somebody tries to turn you on to it, doesn't it sound a little weird when you're hearing it in the 2024? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, it's cool because you listen to it and you're like, all right, I mean, how come bands don't do this anymore? You know, it's not that fire, that rock and roll, whatever that was back then. It's some bands, bands don't do that anymore. There's a couple of bands that come out and are rocking like, I don't know, Dawkins. Well,
Sorry, I had to.
Who can I compare that to? Who are just raw, like, you know, I know that you're a fan of the Black Crowes.
Yeah.
They were like one of the bands when they came out. I was like, wow, this is cool. Like the Southern, like just rock and roll, like
Twangy.
no, not pretentious. They're just out there singing and jamming, playing blues. And not a lot of bands do that nowadays. And so when I heard Kiss going back, like, okay, I never heard Rock and Roll Over until, you know, Britt played it for me. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Production's not the best, but man, these songs are awesome, you know?
But you being a kid, like growing up in the house of Slayer, I'd imagine like, and a lot of people tell me this, like you see the album cover and you're like, man, this looks tough, right?
Yeah.
And then you listen to it and you're like, this isn't Slayer, you know, or whatever, you know, it's not like metal, but the songs are so catchy. And the more you listen to them, you can't get them out of your head. They're infectious.
And I don't know, I guess it didn't happen to you, but now that I think about it, when I got into Slayer and Priest and Exodus, I was like, fuck you, Kiss, because they were putting songs out like Shandy and stuff. I'm not down with that. So I kind of like ghosted them for like maybe 10 years. And then I got back into it. I'm like, it's just so great. My wife, like, I'll go play along on the guitar on a Sunday night and I'll put on Kiss Alive. And she's like, oh my God, again? She's like, can you play along with something else? I'm like, I just love it though, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, Britt will play it. Anytime she puts a Kiss record on, I'm like, okay, I'll listen to it. I'm not like, oh,
Awesome.
Again, because we listen to Kiss a lot.
Well, I'm an album girl because I'm a record collector, and Johnny wasn't really until we came along, and now he's into it. But he's like, I never really thought to collect records, but I like listening to a record in its entirety. Whereas Johnny's a shuffle guy, and I'm like, no, you can't shuffle because I already hear the next song in my head when that song ends. Like I gotta hear the whole record, especially with Kiss.
Yeah, it's funny. Like a song will come on. It's like, okay, now just play the whole album. Like, all right, so we'll just start the record from the beginning and all the way through. You know.
But you know, I know what you're saying because I feel like some of the bands that I grew up with in the '90s, they started putting out shitty albums. There'd be 3 great songs or 4 great songs.
Yeah.
And that got people into the shuffle mentality. You know, it's like,
yes,
I mean, Aerosmith rocks. You don't got to skip any songs, and that's what I've always done with Patriarchs in Black. Like, if a riff, like if I write a riff and I'm excited about it, but I'm not sure, I'll listen to it the next day and I'll be like, nah, that's not that good. And I just delete it, you know?
Right.
But I feel like a lot of the bands from the 90s, they created what's happened where people were like, no, man, these albums are too expensive. There's 3 great songs. I'm gonna, you know, Napster it or whatever, you know? I kind of like feel like we have to share some of the blame.
Now you have the ability to just, next track, boom, before the song's even done, you're on to the next song.
Yeah.
And
short attention spans now too, right?
Definitely
not like with the internet now. The attention spans like bam, 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 bam. You can listen to a song. I don't know about this song. You go to the next song.
Yeah.
But listen to those old records. You know, you don't do that. You're like, wow, this is an awesome song. Listen to the whole thing.
Totally.
I love this song. Listen to the whole thing. Like we were talking about the other day. Like, what are your favorite Kiss records? And Brittany was like, the first record and Dynasty. Like, yeah, you know, that's right. Like Dynasty.
I'm a Dynasty girl.
People bag on that album. Yeah, people bag on it. Oh, it's disco,
so
whatever,
good.
this and that. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Those songs are awesome. They're well written.
Sure Know Something on that album?
Oh,
Sure,
yes.
Sure Know Something.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah,
it's a masterpiece.
And then every time I Was Made for Loving You comes on, it's like, man, you can't help but just
just move.
I love it. I mean, I like disco when it came out. I think because of the catchiness and the solid kick drum, boom, boom, boom. You know, that the steady beat.
Sure.
But there's, I'm a big fan of pop music, so a well-written pop song is like ABBA. I love ABBA because all their songs are so. Every single song, pretty much that they wrote, were just so catchy and poppy. Like, man, how do you write a song like just boom and then it's number one?
Yeah.
It's just, to me, that's amazing to be able to write a hit pop song.
I haven't heard ABBA since yesterday. It was, you know, Sirius XM 70s on 7. You know, that's one of my favorite channels. My wife loves that channel, but I listen to more like if I'm not in the car with her, I go from like, you know, Slayer and metal to, Dr. Dre, or even an ASAP Rocky song. I don't know if you guys hate shit like that, but
No,
I love a lot of it.
One of my favorite hip hop rap albums is America's Most Wanted by Ice Cube.
Sure, me too. That's what I just listened to that yesterday. A couple tracks.
That's like one of my favorite. Ice Cube, for that record, he was like on fire on that album. It was like he was at the top of his game right there.
Almost a perfect album. I agree completely.
I love that.
So now we should mention DMC, right?
That's right.
Oh, holy smokes, man!
Yes. How did the two of you meet? Or are you old friends, or did you contact him to make the record?
So, okay. Well, this sounds like such a bullshit story, but Hades was doing an EP after our first album, and we were recording in New York City at Chung King's House of Metal. Oh, shit. And Run DMC was there. We were managed by Rush Management. They came in, and Public Enemy would record there. And I said, Jam Master Jay got behind my drummer's kit, and I said, I have a great idea. We should do a song with you guys. Wow. And Jam Master Jay said, you can't mix rap with metal. And they ran out of the studio. And I'm like, what an idiot. Everybody's like, you're an idiot. I'm like, I thought it was a good idea, And then, of course, a year later, it was the thing with Aerosmith. But then I had no contact with him until Tom Hunting did a solo album of covers that he would sing in the karaoke bars. And there was the middle of a song where DMC did an original rap. And they needed a guitar player to write something to it. And it was the guy who was doing the video, this guy named Craig Cifola. He's friends with the guy in my studio, and I got the DMC rap, and in 2 seconds I wrote like the riff behind it. And Tom Hunting and DMC and everybody like flipped out for it. So then we did a video for that, and I met DMC, and I'm like, hey man, is there any way you would sing on something on a Patriarchs in Black album? He's like, well, send me some music, And like I'd send him one song, like a typical metal song, and no response. I'm like, I don't even know if he got it. I'm like, And then I sent him the song Veneration. He's like, I got something for this. Nice. So he wrote something called, the first single, Veneration, on that was on the second album, right? Yeah, the 1 year. Mm-hmm. Patriarchs in Black. What's the name of the album, Brittany? My Veneration.
my Veneration, yeah.
Yeah,
and now he's going to be buy their copy.
There you go.
You still have to sign my copy, though.
All right, well, so DMC is also on the next album. Really great thing he did on a track called Welcome Back to Hell. So the new record's coming out in August, and Johnny Araya plays bass on 2 songs. And then we got a bunch of different singers in addition to DMC doing a rap. We got Carl Legel from Lie Heavy, Corrosion of Conformity, Blind. He's in a bunch of bands now. A guy named Mark Sunshine in a band called Unita. Yep. We mentioned Jason McMaster, Rob Trainer from Blackwater Rising. Just a bunch of different people, a bunch of different singers, a bunch of different bass players. So it's always Johnny Kelly on drums, the Patriarchs in Black, and me on guitar, and then all different singers and bass players.
So you got Kyle Thomas on this record, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited about that.
He sings on the song, and I tell you, Johnny's bass playing, something about it. It's very different, pretty unique. And he chooses some notes that most people wouldn't think of. And I really feel like it adds something to the riffs and the songs. I really do.
Yeah, he's just trying to accent, not it's guitar oriented music, and the bass, I feel, should be in the background, not really like out there noodling and stuff. It should be away from the guitars and not take away from the guitars, and just kind of keep the rhythm. And once in a while, just to mix it up, you're playing a third, and then I'm gonna try a fifth in there, or an octave or something, something different, just to change it up a little bit. Just not all the time. Just accent some parts. And
I love your bass playing on everything you've done. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Come from you. That's a very awesome compliment. That's Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So Dan, I have a question. Since you have so many musicians, like, have you ever sought anybody out for like a Patriarch song and been like, hey, you'll be perfect for the bass, or you'll be perfect for this, and then you were kind of like it was lackluster or disappointed, and asked them to maybe redo the track, or maybe ask somebody else because you weren't happy with it?
Yeah, a couple times, not a lot. Particularly with the cover songs, we've tried different people's. That's how we got Sunshine. Is we had like 3 different people sing "Immigrant Song" by Led Zeppelin.
Oh, that's
nobody could really do it justice. And then Sunshine just crushed it. And my old drummer from Nonfiction, Mike Christie, he's the one who told me to check out Sunshine, because Mark Sunshine used to open up for Nonfiction in the early '90s, and I kind of forgot about him. And I didn't realize he was, doing it again in a band called Unita. And he's amazing. But yeah, it's always uncomfortable. Like I have a friend who went to Berkeley and he did a blues song on the new album, and it just wasn't right. I mean, I thought it was okay. Johnny Kelly has like a 51% share in the company. He put the kibosh on it. But it doesn't happen often. Thank you. Thankfully, it doesn't happen often.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, a friend of mine played bass in Unita. I'm not sure if he still does. His name's Kurt Christensen, and we were on tour with, I think it was Vitus. It was St. Vitus, and because I did Spirit Caravan and Vitus with Wino, but it was in Italy. We did a handful of festivals with Unita, and that was really cool.
Was it last year?
No, this was 2013 that I toured.
Oh, okay, yeah.
2014.
I think it's the same guy.
Yeah, Kurt Christensen. He's a really good guy from Austin, so that's really cool. There's a lot of parallels. It's a really small world.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so excited to hear the new record.
Yeah,
I think
me
this
too.
record is a fucking masterpiece. I love it.
Yeah.
I try to play it for all my clients at the shop,
Awesome.
and
Thank you
we
so
try
much.
to just spread the word, and we will continue to do so.
Yeah, we've turned it on to a few people, and they're like, "Oh my God, this record's rad! Thank you so much for
Thank you.
introducing us to it." I'm like, "Yeah, of course, man."
Thank
That
you
makes me
for
so happy, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and the reviews for it were just amazing. Like I was like, you were sending me reviews, copy, like check out this one, check out this one, like, and everything, all of them have been positive, and that's.
Yeah. Well, I don't send you the bad ones, of course.
Well, I mean, it's
We
good
delete those before you
yeah.
read.
I like to read the bad and the good, but it's good. It's when there's more good than bad reviews.
Sure.
That's especially now.
Yeah, there was a
when
couple of
everyone's a
mediocre.
critic.
There really weren't any bad. There was like a couple of mediocre reviews. We got 6 or 7, which pisses me off because I'm always thinking like the journalist, and I get it. You don't have the time to dedicate to listening to the album 3 or 4 times to really
Digest
get it.
To soak it in, yeah. And
Yeah.
everyone's a critic now. You're like, all right,
Yeah.
whatever.
And also people like beyond critic, like people like really hate a lot. And
Yeah.
instead of like
Yeah.
constructive criticism or being like, hey, I think this could have been different, they're like, fuck this or whatever.
Yeah.
They're really
Yeah.
ugly about it. And it's like,
Yeah.
damn, dude, did you have to do that? And then I have a really bad habit of like stewing on those like negative, hateful comments that people leave instead of stewing on the 100
Really?
positive ones. And then I'm just like, why did people say that about me or whatever? And Johnny's like, babe, you had like 100 positive comments. And then I'm
Yeah.
just like, damn, like I tend to like really obsess over that one negative thing.
Wow.
And,
Get
and
out of that habit.
I have to. And I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know why I worry about that. Johnny's like, they don't know you. They don't know how hard you've worked to get to where you're at. And I'm like, you're right. So I definitely have to get out of that habit because you gotta take the good with the bad, and you gotta realize there's always gonna be haters and critics.
Always.
But the album is amazing. Very good job. I was super excited, especially when I knew that. That Carl had sung on the album because I'm a huge fan of Blind, and being like such a huge St. Vitus fan, I found out about St. Vitus because I was I knew about them. I had heard some tunes like when I was a teenager, but I was a big COC fan, and seeing the video for Dance of the Dead, Pepper's wearing a St. Vitus shirt, and I'm like, I keep seeing St. Vitus, and I see Jimmy Bower and Pepper wearing the shirts, and I just love that album. And as much as I love Pepper's voice, I think Blind is very underrated. I think that's a masterpiece. So I was like, oh my God, he's back, so that was really cool.
Yeah, Carl on the album is amazing too. He's got
Yeah, he sings
killer
one
voice.
song on the new album as well, of course.
Yeah,
The third album, as well as My Veneration. Yeah.
Trainer, he's got a very unique voice. I'm like, man, who is this? And I'm like, wow, this is great. He's got such a distinct voice,
So when is the new record coming out, Dan?
Yeah.
The first single is going to come out the first Friday in June, which I think is June 7th. And then they're going to probably release another single in July or late July. And the full album will be out in August. So it'll be Patriarchs in Black. I'll give you guys the scoop. It's going to be called Visioning. And 12-song album. It'll come out in August simultaneously on CD, vinyl, and digital.
Awesome.
So
man.
look, this August, Patriarchs in Black third album is called Visioning.
Yeah,
You know what visioning is?
Mm-mm.
So when you're on your deathbed, and you know how people say, "Oh, I saw Uncle Charlie, who's been dead for 40 years." You see all these people. That's what visioning is.
Okay.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's stories about that where people are like, "Hey, there's Aunt
Yeah.
Martha." Like, where?
Yeah.
She's standing right there.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a funny story, not to change the subject, but my sister who was in hospice, she would come back from
Visioning.
visioning. She would wake up and say, I was somewhere There was no people. There were just beings I could feel. I know who they are. She said she saw Michael Jackson because she died the same year that Michael Jackson passed away. They were like maybe 2-3 weeks apart when they passed away. She said Michael Jackson was in the room with me, like they were getting prepped to cross over.
But your sister passed, or she was?
She passed. She passed in 2009, and and she was telling us these stories of like how they were kind of prepping her to cross over. And she's like, wow, there are all these people there. Wow. If I saw a photo of them, I would recognize them. But Michael Jackson was there with me, and I knew it was him. Yeah, I'm like, so that just,
And then Mike passed.
And then he passed away like 2-3 weeks after my sister did. I'm like, wow. So, wow.
Oh, my God, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, it's really, talking about that visioning, like, oh, okay. But hers was, she was asleep. She was out, but she would come to and tell us these stories, like what she saw and what they were telling her, and kind of prepping her and everything. So I believe in that visioning and seeing the spirits and energy and all that stuff. So wow,
for sure.
I'm excited to hear the title track.
Mark Sunshine sings the title track.
Oh, right.
It's the last song on the album. It's really not. He said lyrically, it's not so much about that, but that's just the theme of the album, sort of in a sense. Artwork wise.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. That's it. For the artwork for My Veneration, where'd that idea come from with the stacks and all that and the guitars hanging on that's really cool. I like that concept. It's awesome.
So, I mean, I go to church every week, believe it or not. I go to church, and
that's awesome.
I just thought, My Veneration. I love the word. I think I got the word from the Bible, and it's veneration. I was looking like, what does it really mean? It's like, great respect, great reverence, great love. And I'm thinking like, oh, that's so cool. Like, that's kind of how I feel about music, So we stuck my guitar, this guy named Josh Sultan, actually. I said, I want to like a church basically, but instead of where Christ would be, not that it's not like a Jesus Christ pose or anything like that, but just, how much I love music and how serious I am about it as far as, the love I have for it.
Right.
My veneration. So,
awesome.
Just putting my guitar on top of the stage. And then I'm like, Johnny, do we need drum set? Your drum set? He's like, no, that'll make it cheesy. Don't do that. I'm
like, Johnny was like,
yeah.
The 51% there. How did you guys end up working together? I know that you've met just recently, but you never like recorded or worked together prior.
No, I think, I'm sure we played shows, Hades or Nonfiction. We used to play we played with Typo Negative a bunch, and even before Typo Negative, when they were called Repulsion, before that, they had a couple different names. Carnivore, we played with. But I really don't remember meeting Johnny back then, and it's something like I kind of stick to myself. I'm not like big on like hanging out or like this, getting to meet the guys in the bands. Like we've opened up for Pantera and Alice in Chains, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I wasn't like super interested in meeting the guys, and I kind of regret that now. But I feel like Johnny and I might have met each other during the MySpace days. I feel like that could be it. But somehow I got his email, and I've been writing for magazines. For many years I was in sales for magazines, advertising sales. And when I was writing, I would always email Johnny, and I think I mailed him some music. And then we did the second Cash is King record, like I said, with Jason McMaster, and the drummer's Ron Lipnicki, who was in Hades and then Overkill. And Ron's like, dude, he's like, you just keep throwing me more and more songs. Like, I can't, I got a job, and everybody else like, yeah, dude, like we got other shit in our life other than just.
You're like, so do I.
Yeah.
Work harder.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you're right. But I told Blitz, I'm like, maybe I should reach out to Johnny Kelly. And Blitz is like, oh man, he'd be perfect for your songs, for your riffs. And I remember the first song I sent Johnny was Sing for the Devil. It was just, just my guitar. And he sent me back something like 2 days later. He's like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, it's like perfect. Like, what do you mean? And then he'll send me another one. Like, what are you doing? It's perfect. Like, you don't have to change anything, So
awesome.
It's like that. Like, I record the whole song to the click track, and then I send it to Johnny. So now that after, so it goes from being just guitar to guitar and drums, and then we send it to somebody nice like you or a singer. But it's kind of it's not the way we recorded back in the 80s and 90s. It's totally different.
Yeah.
But it's working out really well now because this will be our third album in 3 years.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's
Johnny
great.
Johnny Kelly sounds great, man.
Yeah, he's
His
awesome.
drumming's phenomenal. And he's such a good dude. Like,
Yeah.
He's fun.
met him working for Danzig, and he
Right.
is just such a cool dude. You know, he's a ball buster, but man,
He sure was busting my balls when I was
he's a
fixing
funny
that
guy.
Danzig skull.
Really?
Telling that story. Oh my god! Like, so we're doing Danzig rehearsals. You know, he brings out the big skull that goes on in front of the drum riser for this anniversary show. And
Wait, it had been in storage for how many years?
It's been in storage since like
Dilapidating?
90. I think it was like 96 or something, or I'm not sure. But it had been in storage for like over 20 years.
Wow.
Just sitting on a wall, just like leaning up against the wall, and it's old. It's like from 89, I think, when he had it made, or 1990. And it's falling apart. All the foam inside's all crumbling, and it just falls out
like
like
an
dust.
eggshell.
Yeah, it's like an
Yeah.
eggshell. So it's just latex, and it's just all loose. So the nose where it was bent, it's all cracked and stuff. And Britt came out because
I was just there to visit because I was working working Psycho Vegas
Psycho
tattooing,
Vegas.
and Danzig was playing, and then they were like, "Oh, it's." Glenn's manager was like, "Oh, it's all good. But Britt can fix it. Britt's here," and I was like, "What? No!" Like,
and he's like,
don't
you can fix it, right? She's like, yes.
Yes, Sir Glenn, So anyway, I worked on it. I'm sweating bullets in a box truck in 100-degree LA weather for 3 days,
Wow.
crying because I'm like, I'm gonna fucking ruin this thing. I did not sign up for this, but I took one for the team, and Johnny Kelly comes out, and I think he was like licking an ice cream cone or something. Like, he was on a break, and he comes out, and he's like, Brittany, I don't know why you're doing this. This is a thankless job. If you fuck this up, Glenn's gonna fire Johnny. And I was like, oh, and he was totally messing with me, right? But at that time, I was like, oh my, dude, I just like burst into tears, and I was like, no. I was like, but anyway,
That's
it
funny.
survived. It made it through the show. It made it through a whole tour after that.
That's
and
awesome. I love that
Yeah.
thing too.
It was
The
like
first
this-
2 Danzig albums are
Yes.
perfection. I mean, just
Yes.
absolute perfection. You know?
yeah.
Their first record. That's what, when I heard that, I'm like, wow,
Masterpiece.
this is great. The production, I love production that's like raw, like not too
It
many
was so
effects.
dry though. It was so weird, man. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't, like, it took me a while to like really get. I'm like, the guitars are so not distorted. Like, it was-
Right.
but I fell in love with it then, and the second album I think might be even better.
Totally. Totally.
So-
But yeah, that was my introduction to Johnny Kelly.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I was obsessed with Typo as a kid. My mom had Bloody Kisses in her 1995 Cherry Apple Red Mustang just on repeat. And that's one of my first, she was
That's
just obsessed
crazy.
with grunge. And again, growing up in the 90s, that was one of my favorite bands. And then I'm sitting in a room with Johnny Kelly, and he's telling me, Brittany, this is a thankless job, and I'm fixing Glenn Danzig's skull that was in front of Biscuit's Riser. I'm like, wow, life came full circle. I've been worshiping music my whole life.
That's cool. But yeah, we tend to bust balls in New York and New Jersey.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
I was going to say
Yeah.
East Coast,
Occasionally some
humor.
sarcasm ekes out.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
Yeah, that's great, man. Yeah, his drumming is a phenomenal and
Great fit for Patriarchs.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like, he just has the perfect style for your riff writing, your song
Yeah.
style. It's like, whoop, it's,
Yep,
it's
I
great.
agree.
It's like a puzzle. How many Les Pauls do you actually have?
Right now, I have just one. I have about 6 guitars upstairs, and I just used the one Les Paul, and then I have a bunch of Gibson Epiphones to like different tunings for like to play along with, whether it's AC/DC or
All
Kiss or Aerosmith. So I have a couple different tunings, but yeah, I've been pretty much been with Les Paul. So I was playing Dean's on the first couple Hades albums, Dean, and then I switched to the Les Paul with Nonfiction in 1990. And I've only I've had a couple over the years, but I only have one custom Les Paul now.
Right. So you have like one guitar for each AC/DC song, because Highway to Hell, that's how I learned how to play guitar, to Highway to Hell.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is each song tuned differently?
A lot of people don't know that. And when I was in 11th grade, I was thinking I was making mistakes, or like the guitar. And yeah, it's weird. I mean, but it's a good idea because you have, all your songs have 7 chords. So why not make the tuning a little bit different? It's a pretty good idea.
It is a good idea. And I always wondered, like, why is it this way? Why is this song tuned a little bit flat? Why is this one sharp? Or why is this one, like, every song is tuned
Because
differently?
Back in Black is the whole, it's tuned one way the whole album, whereas you're right.
Yep.
And the same thing with, I was just playing along with Blitz and I are doing Sin City. And Sin City's tuned a little bit different than some of the other songs on that album. So
Right.
I guess maybe it could have been as innocent as, back in like 82, 83, I was doing drop tuning. I didn't know it because we would just tune lower and like we didn't have a tuner. So you would just tune to whatever. And I listen to it now. I'm like, oh shit, we were in D back then, man. I had no idea.
You were Doom before Doom.
Yeah.
It really took off.
Didn't have a tuner.
You're ahead of your time, man.
What are some of your favorite Doom bands, Dan?
Yeah.
Favorite Doom?
Yeah.
Or new?
Just like Doom, like I love Saint Vitus. I love just that era of Doom, like that gritty, just crazy Doom
Slow,
metal. But, yeah.
So they're not a Doom band, but I like worship the old Clutch. I haven't kept up with them. I think the first, well, the self-titled Clutch album, which I guess is their second. That to me is a masterpiece. And a lot of the stuff after, I just haven't really kept up on a lot of it. So I mean, when you say Doom, my first thought is like Black Sabbath, you know. But,
yeah, of course.
I discovered a band yesterday. I was so proud of myself. I actually found a new band on Instagram that I loved. I don't love anybody ever. Rickshaw Billy's Burger Patrol.
Yes. So one of my clients told me to put that on. I was, because I'm always like, what would you like to listen to? This is your world. You know, I want you to be comfortable. And someone told me to put that on. I was like, this is freaking awesome. How
really
do I not
good,
know about
right?
this band? Yes. It's such a silly name, but they're
It's such
awesome.
a bad name. And I'm not sure about the vocals still, but I really, something about it hit me. Whereas a lot of it's hard for me to listen to new music. There's just so much out there, and it's just I can't say I love a lot of it. Like I'm such a nitpicky guy. Like even like say Sabbath, I don't really love Ozzy's voice. You know, like I love the riffs, but I'm just like I'm a bitch when it comes to music. You know.
Yeah, Ozzy's voice is definitely like, I don't know how you describe his voice.
An acquired taste.
Yeah, and he's not like the greatest singer, but there's such legendary, iconic songs that you know you grow to love it. I guess you love it, the whole package.
Yeah, anyone else singing like old Sabbath is like, it wouldn't be the same, you know.
No,
like,
but I mean, I did the Dio albums. I love those two albums, those 3 albums. You know,
that was another thing. Like my first introduction to Sabbath was Heaven and Hell.
Great album.
The same thing. Like my brother came home, we had Heaven and Hell. I'm like what is these angels like smoking cigarettes hanging out? Like, oh, this is rad. And the drawing on the back, you know, it's like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then listening to it, I'm like, man, Dio's voice. I'm like, holy smokes. Yeah. What an amazing voice for that tiny man and have this huge voice. Yeah. But that was my introduction. And then, oh no, you got to hear Sabbath with the original singer, Ozzy. I'm like, what? And then I went back. I'm like, wait, this is the same band? Totally.
You guys are young. You guys are young. Yeah.
I started with Ozzy, and I'm younger, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I was.
He's only a couple years behind you, Dan.
Yeah, I'm not that far behind you. I was born in '69, so.
Okay, I have a question for Dan.
Okay.
All right. So Dan, being a big Kiss fan, are you a Paul Stanley or an Ace Frehley guy, being a guitar player, or do you love both equally?
Well, I mean, as human beings, I don't think I love any of them. But as far as Ace's playing, I mean, I worship Ace's playing. But we were talking about Sure Know Something. I love Paul Stanley. He's like, even he played bass on the song Love Gun and Sure Know Something. And I always been intrigued by bass, and I liked figuring out what I thought were Gene Simmons bass lines. And I did figure out a lot of Gene, but I even think Paul Stanley plays great bass on those couple songs. But
no idea.
I didn't know that either.
Paul, what's that?
We didn't know that.
We didn't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I also love Jean-Paul Beauvier, who played bass on Almost Human, which we're going to cover soon. Awesome. But I interviewed Paul whenever the Psycho Circus came out, and he was doing his artwork back then. And he told me, he's like, what do you think of the new album? I'm like, I don't really like it. And he's like, but Psycho Circus, it's as good as the song as Detroit Rock City. It's just that you're older now. And I'm like, no, it's not. You know, I don't want to be rude, but it's like guys like that. I mean, they're the greatest of all time. They're so popular, but I just kind of like, you know, like all my heroes, they mellow with age, whether it's Aerosmith or Kiss. Like, I don't want to put out Shandy. Like I just turned 61 last month, and I don't want to put out that kind of stuff, you know, but it's not how I make a living. So I'm not having, you know, record labels and producers saying, well, you need a hit. Yeah, I just write music that I love, you know. Right. But I love everybody in Kiss equally when people goof on Peter Criss, I get upset because I thought his drumming, even if it wasn't technically amazing, everything, it was like I would memorize the drum beats because they were just so catchy, you know? Yep. So I love everybody in Kiss.
The raspy voice was so good. His songs, Hooligan, and then Strange Ways is so fucking good. We
just did Strange Ways with Rob Dukes, actually. That would come out. Probably next year. Yeah.
Awesome. I get a lot of flack because like people have like reposted my King Diamond and like metal groups on Facebook and stuff, and I don't have the time to really be on social media. But someone's like, "Oh my God, check out your King Diamond, tattoo in this group." So I clicked on it recently, and someone was clowning on my Peter Criss tattoo, like, "Oh, she'd be great if she didn't have that stupid fucking Peter Criss tattoo." I'm like, "Damn, why the hate for Peter Criss, man?
exactly.
He's such a nice person." Actually, I was always like Ace Frehley worship, and then I met Ace, and it was not a great experience. I won't put Ace down, but he was not very nice to me. And I have a huge Ace tattoo. Yeah, I have a huge Ace tattoo, and he was like, the manager or whatever was like, "What do you want to get signed?" I was like, "I want my tattoo signed, and then I'm gonna go get it tattooed." He signed my tattoo and he's like, "Next." Didn't say a word to me. I was like, "Oh my God," But when we took a picture, and he's like sitting here like, and I'm like cheesing, and then he's like, "Jesus Christ, take the fucking picture," right? And I was like, "Oh my God!" So my face was like in the second photo, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh!"
I don't think I can hang out with them as people. Like I probably get along with Gene and Paul because I'm straight. I'm like totally straight. But the same thing happened with me. I met Ace Frehley at Zone DK in New York City in the early '90s, and I said, "Hey Ace," and I don't shake hands hardly anymore. But back there, I was like, "I just wanted to let you know you're the reason why I started playing guitar." And he had a drink in each hand. He went,
"Wow,"
and that was it, And then I met him another time, but I don't think I'd be best friends with those guys, I don't know if I was on tour like this. Even when I went on tour with Hades and Nonfiction, I was usually hanging out with the road crew. It's just like I don't know, man.
Sure.
Sometimes musicians are a pain in the ass,
Yeah. Well, to follow that up, so I met him at a Comic-Con, and I was like so sad. I was so devastated. I had looked forward to this for so long. I was like, fuck, and at that point, I only had Ace tattooed on me. This was maybe almost 10 years ago. And so then I was like, well, shit. I was always like Team Ace and Peter, right? And so then I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a Peter Criss tattoo too. So I wound up, actually, before I got my Peter Criss tattoo, Peter announced that he was going to do the next year's Comic-Con. So Ace had no line. When I was like, well, how come nobody's in fucking Ace's line? And then I was like,
really?
Well, maybe that's why.
That's probably why.
He was treating people not very nice. But when I went to meet Peter, I think I stood in line almost 5 hours, and I almost left because it was like excessively long, but by the time I got up there, he was like so enamored with me, and I didn't have my tattoo yet, but he was like, "Look at these beautiful tattoos," and his wife was there, and she was like, "What a beauty, oh my God." He goes, "You're the real Catwoman," because I have this big cat chest piece, and I was like, "Oh my God," I was just freaking out. And he engaged with me, locked eyes with me, and he was like, "You are so fascinating, who are you?" And I was like, "You're Peter Criss, oh my God." I was just like, I am so amazed. And he just wanted to know about me and my life, and I was like, I don't care about me. He was so wonderful. He was like probably maybe the nicest, greatest musician I've ever met in my life. He was so kind and warm and welcoming. I think we talked for over 5 minutes, and I was like, that's why the line took 5 minutes, because he genuinely cares about his fans. He was like, "How'd you get into Kiss? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for waiting in this long line." And I was like, what a gem of a human. And so that's when I decided to get Peter tattooed on me, and then I wound up being like,
that's great to hear.
Yeah, so he was magical. It was a total amazing experience, and then I changed my favorite member throughout the years, and Peter's probably my favorite just based on personal experience. But
right.
I definitely changed from Ace to Paul after that.
Yeah, that would suck too. Like meeting someone and they're like, "Hey, you inspired me to play guitar." "Oh, that's nice. Next." Like, dude, come on, man, really? That's all you're gonna say?
It was a bummer.
Yeah, total bummer. Wow.
Anyway, Dan, you're freaking awesome. We love Patriarchs.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool that you're playing with him. And
yeah, it's so cool.
You guys are making magic.
I love the tracks, man. The song is heavy as
funk.
Thanks
to both of you.
I love them, man. And I played them back. I'm like, man, this is so heavy. I love it. Like, babe, listen to this. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do here. This is so heavy. He was nervous. Yeah, a little nervous because I'm like, it was definitely a challenge just to try to just do something different and complement the song instead of trying to just, I don't know. I just wanted to do something cool to complement your riffs, because the riffs are so cool and so heavy and you just hard to describe. You just have to listen to it. I guess when the record comes out.
Yes.
No BS. I love what you did. I really all three songs. I love what you did.
Yeah, I love the riffers too, man. The riffs are great. The songwritings are great.
Thanks.
All the singers you have on Veneration, every track is like you said, like it brings back memories like back in the day. Like you got random singers coming. Each song is different. Each song has its own vibe, and you want to listen to it. You know, it's not. It's like, all right, this song's whatever. You go to the next track. You want to listen to the entire song to see what's this guy doing. You know, what's the singer doing, or what's this guitar player doing, and you don't get that now with this music. Everything sounds the same now.
Yeah. And that's why I think I'm going to stick with this, because it's so much fun. Like you said, it's having all different singers. And I truly believe the third album is even better than the second album. Yay! So hopefully in August you'll let me know.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, we love it. And I can't wait for it to come out, man.
All right. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Hey, thank you, Dan.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
And
is there anything else you want to promote or tell anybody before we get on?
No, I guess just, you guys, they'd all just check out the 3 Patriarchs in Black album. I'd love you guys to investigate Vessel of Light a little more. Check out Vessel of Light. Okay.
We will.
Yeah, right, sure will.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks,
Dan. You are amazing.
Appreciate
it. And we'll stay in touch.
Bye-bye.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Wow, that was awesome. Talking to Dan. It's so cool because we've been communicating with Dan for a while Johnny's been recording these Patriarchs albums, but we had never actually talked face to face. So it's really cool to actually talk to him face to face and pick his brain and talk about Kiss and talk about all of the things that influenced him and kind of, got him to be who he is today.
That's right. He's an excellent musician. He's very precise. He knows what he wants. He knows
how to get it.
He knows the sound he's looking for. And him teaming up with Johnny Kelly seems to be like the perfect match. Johnny Kelly is such a groove meister, and he can play anything. The guy's so versatile. He can play any kind of drum beat. I mean, he can play punk rock. He can play slow grinding like Sabbathy type of slow beats and all that. And they're just a perfect match. Dan Lorenzo style with Johnny Kelly, it's like this. They're like a puzzle piece together, and it was
like a magic potion.
Yeah, that's right. And all the musicians he's acquired on his records are great. They all work well together, and I'm proud to be a part of that.
You should be. It's awesome. Very cool.
Awesome. Mm-hmm.
Super looking forward to the third album. I've only heard the couple of tracks that you did, which are super heavy. It's like every album gets heavier than the last. So really looking forward to that. And we want to thank you all for your support. Yes. And we really couldn't do this without the love and support of all of our friends that tune in. So we're super grateful and just want to say have a wonderful day. And we super appreciate the love and support that we're receiving from all of you.
That's
rowdy
right.
metalheads. That's
right. So if you're listening to this on podcast, give us a like, subscribe to us. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a little comment if you have any questions or you have any suggestions for us, or you just want to say, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
You guys are great. Or hey, you guys suck. Say whatever you want. We don't care.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to hurt us. And check out thehauntedchapel.com for items, merch items, for giveaways. We got lots of stuff always happening. Check out bztattoo.com if you want to get a tattoo, if you want to get a badass table. Hit her up. She's amazing. Always.
Also, if you want to check us out on socials, you can just type in The Haunted Chapel on Instagram and find us, as well as my furniture work at Heavy Metal Tables. So stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a kick-ass new table giveaway. It's been a long time since I gave away a table, so tune in and you might just be my next winner.
Ooh.
Hey. So thank you all again, and thank you for supporting The Haunted Chapel.
Yes, thank you. And remember to
stay heavy
and stay haunted.
Sweet. Awesome.